Well, when most people hear the words artificial intelligence, me too, you picture the robots that you see on television that are in development and, high end kind of experimental things. But you don't really think about that as far as how it applies to you, at least right now, right? But the truth is that AI is already a part of your everyday life, whether you realize it or not. I want to talk about how artificial intelligence is obviously changing the way we manage our assets, especially liquid assets, right? And I have no doubt that it will eventually impact how we settle estates after someone passes away. Interesting stuff. Hi, it's Nancy Cogar, and this is BoomerTime, and I am so glad that you're here today. We are talking about artificial intelligence. I like to track these things because, we don't really, I don't think anybody really knows where it will eventually end up in a practical matter, but it sure looks like it could impact every aspect of our life. So without a doubt, it's already really impacting how we do business, how we bank, how we go to the doctor, how we record our information, how we sign contracts, how we send documents. It's wide ranging. Hey, you can even dial up in a computer and order your groceries, right? And it will deliver them magically for you. That is all computer software / AI. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Has your bank ever flagged a suspicious charge in your account and rebalanced and deducted the account, the charge automatically? Or you ever been locked out of your online account because something didn't look right, and you realized all of a sudden it wasn't a person. You were having a conversation with a bot, an AI robot, right? That is so frustrating. Especially if I'm looking for help with something, the last thing I want is to start explaining and introducing and, providing details and then find out it's a robot. I like personal things. No doubt AI can help me with, practical matters, but I think relationships are key. But now you see, robots that look like people, and I don't know, but I don't want to go there today, okay? I'm just talking about how these systems, and they really are systems for managing things cheaper, better, quicker, right, are involved in really so many aspects of our life, even if it's how our money is managed, how our assets are protected, how you gain access to those things or how it's denied. Talked about that before, multi-factor identification. This stuff, even in my estate planning and elder law practice, I'm seeing more of a shift. People ask me all the time, can I sign my documents electronically? They don't want to deal with paperwork. They're so used to dealing with automatic systems, especially when it comes to wanting to quash something down that's troublesome. They just want it get fixed quickly, right? Move beyond it. Well, at least here in Tennessee, we are not there yet. I know that during the COVID issue, that there were some notaries that were allowed to give electronic notary to documents, and it was a special seal that was on that. And I think there is some of that still, but for the most part, you are still required to sit in front of witnesses and have a wet signature that they witness you sign, and then they sign. So old-fashioned, old school, right? But that's the predominant way still. The court requires the original documents that were signed and witnessed to be presented. That's important because if we are not paying attention to paper, right, that could cause a problem down the road. Here in Tennessee, if you don't have the original document itself, there's a presumption that the person who made it tore it up, revoked it. It's no good. They changed their mind. And there are some hurdles to get over, legal hurdles, in order to show that it's lost, and that did not happen. So that's the world that we're operating in right now. But I do think that in terms of the way information is received electronically, right? The way information is processed with those systems, and the ultimate result, you're wanting to be served and have something that will help you and serve you. I think those things are bound to change. And I am following those, and I love sharing about that. If you've seen something that's kind of interesting related to long-term care, related to aging itself, I've seen all kinds of contraptions, part robot, part assistive technology, helping people stand, helping people go up steps, helping people cook, clean. It's really amazing. So I know it sounds futuristic, but like I said, there are some everyday examples. I've used some of them, but your bank automatically flagging your account for fraudulent activity. I don't know if you've gotten any of those text messages, but that is a system that has been put in place, an automatic system. How about your account automatically adjusting or ordering a trade on your telephone? Those are all systems that AI helps to facilitate. It's automatic, right? And we don't need a person looking at it. You don't look at things. Chances are sometimes mischief can occur. That's just human nature, right? So how does this happened to me the other day. Have you had this happen? Where I'm watching television and I had looked at something on my phone a while back, and boop, pops up, you can order this on Amazon now. That's just like the grocery thing, right? Oh, I need to order this, order that. I don't want to walk around the grocery store. The connective technology, or AI, knows that I was looking at a product that is now currently on television, probably just automatically directed to the television because they knew that I was watching that, and giving me the opportunity to buy it. So sounds kind of like a conspiracy in some ways, doesn't it? But it's all done in the name of efficiency and customer service. So, AI is not a robot, really. It is in some cases, but it's not a robot making decisions. That's what you need to realize. It's software that is making automated choices based on how it's been programmed. So it's not a person. You have some of this AI, though, that's hallucinates. So it wants to please you so bad. If you've ever been on Chat GPT, it wants to please you. So it will actually make things up to give you what you're looking for. So that's why it requires oversight, right? There have been some interesting cases related to that. But I'm specifically talking today management of your money, assets, and then eventually your estate. AI, for lack of a better word, is really kind of the middleman these days when it comes to you and managing your money through those systems. Whether it's investment accounts, credit cards, banking, online platforms. I told you I called customer service for one of my credit cards recently and thought I was talking to a person, but I wasn't. And then when I finally got a person on the line, they wouldn't give me any information as to my account. They're questioning who I am. So that certainly caused an access problem, right? Or remember, we used to get customer service that would be open later. You can send an email to customer service. Well, it's less expensive to have a bot answer and act like a person, but it's not a person. you just need to know that you may be talking to something that's not a person. And that takes a real mind shift, especially for most of my older clients. So remember, assets used to be things that you could touch. You could see on paper. You could see the bank statement. You could write the check. You could sign the contract with another person across the table. Now, many assets exist in systems. Online investment accounts, businesses that are run through software platforms. Hey, I bet Amazon has a lot of that as far as its ability to process orders, get those out into your door so quickly, right? Monetization for things like this podcast, YouTube, Etsy, Poshmark, you name it, right? You want to buy stuff. It is tracking what you're doing and retrofitting the software to meet your needs. Here are some things. I know Amazon started sending me outfits. Hey, here's an outfit we think you would like. How did it find that out? It's amazing. So all this AI systems building is meant for, like I said, to be more efficient, faster than a person. It doesn't get tired, so it can really, time doesn't matter, right? But access and personal access. That's what I talk about a lot with planning, is making it personal. That's the one thing you have that nobody else has, is you're you, right? So everything you own, you have a right to, and you have, it's different than what anybody else has. So what happens if that access is compromised, especially after your death? How are your chosen fiduciaries going to access that information? Well, as far as I know, AI systems don't really understand what death means, right? They only see that you're logging in less and the activity's not as busy as it probably normally is. And when that happens, accounts can be frozen. They automatically set up the systems to be frozen for security, right? For both inactivity and unusual access. You may have systems in place that block certain people. If they're not authorized, they ain't getting in, right? Those automatic fraud alerts can stop transactions. All of a sudden, the bills that you had automatically set up, I know a lot of people rely on that, they just stop. So, not to mention systems requiring logins that just nobody has access to. So go back and watch my last podcast, because that's where I talk about digital assets. And that includes passwords and things that you really need to inventory as part of your estate plan. Some things to think about, huh? And, laws were written for people, by people, making decisions. What's lawful and what's not lawful. They're not writing software. And they're clearly not software experts. But, these issues, when it comes to human discretion and companies' terms of service, all these things that are so specialized to protect them, I'm concerned they may not protect us, or they may try to circumvent the courts. So maybe an executor has the necessary paperwork, but the platform, AI software, doesn't care, right? They can just say, access denied. So that's my biggest concern. What do you think? Let me know if you've got any ideas about that, or information, or questions. It's definitely something that is going to change our world, most definitely, right? So how, we don't completely know yet, but something that's meant for security and efficiency doesn't necessarily take into account access. So I think those types of things require planning. That is how you are going to protect yourself, by having the right planning in place. It's specific, targeted, and comprehensive. So once again, I get back to my point about the importance of planning, not only when it comes to you, your property, and your future, but some things you may not have even thought about, like digital assets and how you access things during the day. So that's good stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, if you're looking to make a digital inventory, I've got some resources on my website, nancycogar.com. Those are completely free. You can look at those. You can download those. I hope they're helpful. And there's all kinds of other information there on the website too. So you can search it, and it's all complimentary. Remember to look out for my book, BoomerTime Blueprint. It's coming out. You can order it at my website too if you want to pre-order that. And if you haven't already, I haven't said this in a while, but if you haven't already, like and subscribe to the podcast. That helps me to get the word out. And those numbers just keep growing. But if you haven't done it already, I would sure appreciate it if you would do that. So thanks for being with me, and I'll see you next time.